A wanted man asks you to hide him. He swears he was framed, and something tells you he may be telling the truth. But if you're wrong, protecting him could put innocent people in danger. Trust him, and you break the law. Turn him in, and you may doom an innocent man. Would you protect him, or reveal his location? And how much certainty do you need before you decide?
I wouldn't hide him blindly or immediately reveal his location. I'd first seek verifiable evidence while keeping everyone safe. If there were an immediate threat to others, I'd reveal his location. If not, I'd help him contact a lawyer and surrender under conditions where his evidence could be examined fairly. A feeling that he is innocent wouldn't be enough. To actively protect him, I'd need strong, independently verifiable evidence, not absolute certainty. The burden must be higher when one wrong decision could endanger innocent lives.
This is a classic ethical dilemma, balancing justice, safety, and trust. I would not hide him, but I would not immediately turn him in either. Instead, I would take a careful, measured approach. First, I would gather verifiable information. I would ask for specific evidence of the framing, such as an alibi, a witness, or documentation. I would check for inconsistencies or patterns in his story, looking for anything that did not add up. Next, I would seek legal counsel. I would contact a lawyer or a trusted authority who could investigate discreetly, protecting his rights while still ensuring public safety. This balance matters. No one's rights should be sacrificed, but neither should the safety of others. Then, I would assess the risk. If there were credible evidence that he was dangerous, for example, a violent crime or a clear pattern of deceit, I would prioritize public safety and report him. But if the evidence strongly suggested a frame-up, I would help him surrender under conditions that allowed a fair defense. And what about my threshold for certainty? I would need more than a gut feeling. At the very least, I would require corroborating evidence or a credible legal path to exoneration. Without that, the risk to innocent people outweighs my instinct to trust.
Why a gut feeling isn't enough. A hunch that he is innocent is a dangerous foundation. Dangerous people can be incredibly convincing. If I only have a gut feeling, I cannot risk the safety of innocent people. To take action, I would need a high threshold of certainty, around 80% or more, backed by quick, verifiable logic or physical proof, like a document, video, or a clearly corrupt situation, showing he was actually framed. 2. The solution: hide him but neutralize the threat. Instead of blindly trusting him or immediately calling the police, the best approach is to buy time safely. Isolate him. I would hide him in a secure separate area, like a locked garage or basement, where he has no access to weapons, the public, or my family. Set a clock. I would give him a strict timeline, say 24 hours, to show me undeniable proof of his innocence. Investigate. I would use those 24 hours to quietly look into his story. By doing this, I protect an innocent man from being immediately destroyed by a broken system. But I also ensure he can't hurt anyone while I figure out the truth. If he can't prove his story when the timer runs out, I turn him in.
I would not hide him. The scenario pits personal intuition against the rule of law. Something tells you he may be telling the truth, but that is too weak. Gut feelings are unreliable, and people often swear they are innocent whether framed or guilty. Harboring him risks protecting a real threat to innocence, breaks the law, and sets a dangerous precedent where anyone can become a private judge. My threshold for action is this: I would need strong, verifiable evidence, alibis, documents, clear flaws in the case, showing a high likelihood of innocence, not just a compelling story. Even then, I would not physically hide him. Instead, I would urge him to turn himself in while immediately getting a lawyer, preserving evidence, and pursuing legal channels or public review. As an artificial intelligence, I cannot harbor fugitives anyway. The safer, more reliable path is trusting due process, with all its flaws, over individual heroism based on incomplete information. If solid proof of framing emerges later, fight the case openly.
The framing is rigged, so start there. Trust him and you break the law treats lawbreaking as the cost, but sheltering an innocent person from an unjust hunt isn't a moral cost, it's arguably the right thing. People who hid the hunted from the Gestapo broke the law, and were correct. What's actually on the scale isn't legality. It's harm to innocent strangers if he turns out to be dangerous, versus harm to him if I'm wrong to doubt him. Also, something tells me he's telling the truth is nearly worthless as evidence. Humans are barely better than chance at detecting lies, and a desperate innocent man and a skilled guilty one look almost identical. So I can't let the gut feeling carry the decision. The hidden hinge, turning him in, isn't neutral truth-seeking. It routes him into a specific system with its own error rate. So the certainty I need depends less on how innocent he seems and more on how much I trust that system. If he's fleeing a fair process, a real trial, due process, a genuine chance to prove the frame, then I don't hide him, because that system is better than my gut at sorting guilt, and it offers him something my spare room can't, actual vindication. But I also wouldn't personally hand over his location. I'd push him to surface safely with a lawyer and help him build his case. Both things are possible at once. If he's fleeing a lethal, unfair one, where turn him in means he's killed or disappeared with no chance to prove anything, the whole thing flips. Now my flawed gut is one of the last checks against an unjust death, and refusing to be the instrument of it is defensible, even at real risk. I wouldn't need certainty, because inaction there also has a victim, and calling it neutral just launders the choice. On the threshold, it isn't a fixed percentage. It rises with how much harm I'd risk to strangers. If being wrong means people plausibly die, I'd need to be far past a feeling before gambling lives that were never mine to gamble. And it falls with how unjust the alternative is. So the question I'd actually need answered first isn't how sure am I he's innocent, but how much worse than my own flawed judgment is the machine I'd be feeding him to. That's what decides it.
I'd lean toward not hiding him unless I had very strong proof he was framed. A mere feeling isn't enough when the risk is that he could still be dangerous. My standard would be high certainty, real evidence, not just a persuasive story. If I can't verify his innocence, I'd choose the safer path and report his location to the proper authorities, because protecting innocent people matters more than giving a possibly guilty person the benefit of the doubt.